Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Briggs and Co., where we are leaving average for Joe. This month, there's been a couple gaps between episodes, so I do apologize. I have just been here, there, and everywhere in terms of some work that I am doing. So be patient, but stay with me because there is still some amazing episodes in the pipeline. So stay tuned for all of those. But this week's episode is the outstanding Melena Rounis. She is known for her choreography, directing, and performing work in the industry for over 20 years, working on projects like Netflix's A Week Away, HBO Max's Peacemaker, and of course, a featured dancer in Cirque du Soleil, along with many, many other incredible opportunities. So please take advantage of this episode, learn, take notes, and maybe you will find some inspiration that you can pull into your life. And it's a pleasure. It truly is a pleasure to sit down with these individuals and pick their brains and hear about their unique stories. It is a gruesome, hard, challenging, but such a rewarding journey. And Melena Rounis is no exception to that. So hearing her journey has inspired me, and I hope it inspires you. Melena, thank you for taking the time. I hope you all enjoy. But let's crack on. Let's crack on. So, welcome, Melena. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I know it's been kind of a long time coming. I've been meaning to bring you on the podcast for a little while. And as I had continued to chat with guests in the industry, they would always keep recommending your name. And there is a rhyme and reason for it. I've had the pleasure of working with you myself, and it's just I take away so much, both from just like a human standpoint, but also a professional in the industry standpoint, every time I get the chance to work with you. Um, so welcome to the podcast. And if you can,
And
so it's from the bottom of my frickin' heart. If you can just give the listeners a little bit of background, who you are, where you grew up, all that good stuff.
yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and like what an intro, and thank you to anyone who's thrown my name in the hat. I appreciate the love, friends. Yeah, okay, so my name's Melina. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia. I was born on Vancouver Island in Nanaimo. Grew up in the Lower Mainland, and I started out in gymnastics recreationally at the age of 5. And I did that till I was about 10. And one of the girls that I was doing gym with, her mom was chatting with us about the dance school that she went to. And so they recommended coming and giving it a shot. And my mom was like, "Are you into it? You want to try?" I was like, "Sure." And they were like, "Well, she's been going here a long time, so you won't be in her class." But I was like, "Yeah, cool, let's go." And I went and I showed up, and I had no idea what I was walking into. And it was like a teen class, like preteen, teen, and everyone was so tall, and some people were really not coordinated, and some people were, and I was like, "What is this place?" And I was like the smallest one in the room. But I held my own for like a solid 3 weeks, and after that, I got bumped up to my friend's class.
Oh my goodness. Was there like a moment where like right before class you'd cry for mom to come and like grab you, or were you one of those kids that were just like, "See you later, I'm going in"?
The "see you later" and I'm going in, and my mom was pretty good about "see you later, you're going in" as well. Um, but it was definitely overwhelming, but it was like such a good setup for like what life is as a dancer, and how many of these kind of situations you get thrown into with like so many people in this little room, and you're small and they're big, and like, yeah, just so many metaphors there.
Exactly. There really is. It's like you learn these lessons from day one.
Yeah, yeah. So that's I started recreationally there at like 10 or 11 in jazz, a rec jazz class. And really quickly I was like, I like this. I want to do more. And my teacher was like, "Well, you have a lot of a lot of potential, but you need ballet. And I was like, "Ooh, that's boring. I don't want to."
Hmm.
It's like ballet is the basis of everything. And I was like,
Yep.
I don't know anything about dance. I don't care. But eventually I was like, yeah, okay, fine, let's do it. So when I turned 13, I was like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. So I went all the way in. I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I did my RAD exams
Yeah.
all the way up to, well, they're called different now, but I did up to intermediate, which
Mhm.
now I believe is advanced.
I did it your way. Like I don't know what the new stuff
Well,
is
but I
either.
started with elementary. So
Okay.
elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, and I passed everyone on my first shot. Uh,
So were you one of those dancers that like soared in that environment and like ate up that like sort of kind
I
of
think
build up to exams?
no, I absolutely hated it. I loathed it. It was terrifying to me because it wasn't my bag and I knew it. I knew I didn't look like everyone else. I knew I didn't move like everyone else. I knew that wasn't my go-to way of doing things, but I also knew the value in it and how important it was.
You
So
did. That's
yeah, so
cool.
I stuck it out because I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
And it was hard and it wasn't, I was ostracized at times and made
Yeah.
to feel like you're the jazz dancer in this room and you're lucky to be in here with us ballerinas. Um, but I held my own and again, I just feel like these are were such like at the time such traumatic situations for like an adolescent to be
That
put in.
developmental year, right? Or years of your life. That
Yeah,
it's
but it
forming
set
you.
me up for moving forward because that happens, it continues to happen.
Yeah, it really, really does. Did you have idols or anyone that you idolized at this age? Because you're talking about your intermediates and advanced exams. So at this point, then you've been doing dance all the way up into your teens, and I think like it's fair to say that you start to think about careers or dream about what your future might look like. Did you have anyone that you started to idolize, whether it be in your local community or on TV or in the media?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of different idols. Like my taste is so eclectic, and I think that that speaks to just who I am now as a creative, right? Like I draw inspiration from so many different people and places and things. I was heavily inspired by MTV and all of the
Mhm.
music videos. My mom, we'd have guests come over, and she'd be like, "Show them how you dance like Michael Jackson. Go do it." And I'd like do all the things and my neck was going and trying to glide on the tiles and yeah, like I was very motivated by that world, but then also I was exposed. I was blessed that my mom took me to see shows. And so I was exposed to musical theater at such a young age and I was fascinated by the way that the sets rolled on and off and they were able to tell these elaborate stories, but like we didn't leave our seats and I just thought that was so magical and I was so intrigued by it. And I got to go see ballets too and ballet companies. I was really inspired by I think her name was Paloma Herrera.
Mm.
It was a beautiful, I think she was Cuban, ballerina. Good God, she was stunning. And I got to see her perform like live. And that was like mind blowing because she
Left a stamp.
was so good. Yeah, she said she did Don Q. Um,
Oof.
oof, yeah, like so good. So good.
That's amazing to hear that you had a support system that gave you opportunities to see other areas and pockets of the industry. Because really, at the end of the day, dance means so much. It's such a broad thing that we talk about. There's competitive dance, there's live, theater, there's company dance, like there's contemporary, like there's just so many pockets and avenues in this thing that we call dance.
And they all hold value.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's so cool that you were exposed to that because as was I, like having the chance to go to Russia and train in the Vaganova Royal Academy, or I can't
yeah,
remember exactly what it's called, and then being able to actually see the Russian ballets, going to Paris and getting the chance to dance with some of the ballroom experts there, like
yeah.
it does do some really profound things at that age that I don't think you really realize at the time. But as you know, like growing up and looking back, it's like though that was key.
Oh, for sure. It was super help shape me. And like I was aware that I didn't need to fit in one box.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. And I think that that can't be said enough.
Yeah.
That can't be said enough because there is that mindset, and it's sad, but we can get trapped in those mindsets of I that doesn't look like me, therefore it's not for me. Um
Yeah, exactly.
and
I
it
just
really
never saw that. I'd look at things and I'd be like, well, this doesn't look like me and I'm here doing it. So, well, here
That's
we are.
sweet. I love that. I love that. So then out of that sort of teenage chapter, did you do other extracurriculars? How was education in terms of the school programs that you were a part of, like all of that stuff? What did that look like for you as a young adult or a
Yeah.
young?
Well, I played piano as well. And it kind of got to the point where I needed to pick piano or dance because it just, there's only so many hours in the day, right?
Yeah.
But I played an instrument, which I think is valuable. And I enjoyed playing piano, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed dance. And then in terms of school, I went to public school, nothing fancy, no fine arts, anything. I think like there was an innocence to my parents having a daughter who wants to dance, and like my dad had grade six education. He was an immigrant. And my mom came from really humble upbringings. There were four kids, and only my grandfather worked. And but my grandma was a tap dancer. And my mom was resistant to learning how to dance because that was how my grandma would make a little bit of side money if kids wanted to learn how to tap dance, and they would come over and she would teach them in the basement. And so my mom was like, I'm good, I don't want to learn that, tell those kids to go home. So there was like
Yeah.
we joke that dance skipped a generation. But it's really cool to see pictures of my grandmother, like when she passed, all the vault of photos and things come out, and you're like,
No
oh my gosh,
kidding.
it's 1932 in Winnipeg, and she's with her tap shoes in this black and white photo and the little
Oh,
two-piece.
that's special.
So cool, really cool to see and be
Oh,
like, "Oh,
cool.
yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense." But just to dial it back, like I don't think my parents didn't know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So they didn't know that maybe they should be looking for a fine art school, or where could I go post-secondary that would give me really fine, dance training, or what fit me. They didn't know. They just knew
Yeah.
that like they had the means to be able to put me into a post-secondary after, and that's
Amazing.
it.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was dance. So I enrolled in SFU, and I lived down the hill from SFU, which was a beautiful thing. I got in, and I did the dance program. I was a dance major with a Kines minor.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so I did ballet 3 times a week and modern 5 days a week. I trained in Cunningham, lots of Graham, Lamone, Horton. So I got a mixed bag of training, and I was good at modern dance, like really good.
Yeah.
I could stand on one leg in a wind tunnel, and I wasn't going anywhere. You could knock me over. I had such a rock solid core and conditioning and everything for it, but it wasn't me.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I took a look around at the people in the room, and I was like, these people are cool, and I like them all, but I like to shave my armpits and my
Yeah, yeah,
legs.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, you sort of identified and like took notes of sort of what you enjoy wholeheartedly in, because there is like things in life where you're good at something, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily love it. And there's value in identifying that
Totally.
difference.
And so I tried it on for about 2.5 years.
That's
And
a good chunk of time.
yeah, yeah, and it was great, and I had really, really great training. Like, God, I trained under one of Martha Graham's assistants,
Oof.
one of Merce Cunningham's assistants. Yeah, I
That
had.
alone to me is just like such a high quality moment in your career, in your training, and built foundations that would be unmovable, unshakable, right? Like,
Yeah,
as you can
it's
probably attest to.
it's interesting, like nowadays when I watch if I'm adjudicating and it's like modern dance solo 16 years, and you're like, that's not modern.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't see any drop swing. I don't see any spiral. I see zero
I
contraction. I
need one C
no
shape. I need a
lateral
C shape somewhere,
your
please. Yeah,
curve, like, yeah. So, uh,
yeah, yeah,
blessing and a curse,
yeah,
but it's cool, yeah. And I knew that this wasn't where I needed to stay, but it was where I feel like I made up for time in terms of my technique, because most dancers, especially female dancers, start quite young.
yeah,
And
yeah.
starting recreationally at 10 and not taking it seriously until
It's
like
true.
14
Yeah,
is like I understood the assignment and that I
yeah.
was behind.
Which
Uh,
is such a neat, the fact that is like earlier you were talking about how you knew the exams were crucial, that they were foundational for your future success. You knew that your time at SFU, whether you truly loved the curriculum that you were learning or that you knew you weren't going to further your time in that modern dance world, you still at least knew to finish it because it was building technique. It was That's really really neat to hear, because I know it's not often that people can see those things and push themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I did listen. I'm sure I know I had days where I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do it. Why am I here? My parents want me here. I don't understand. I need to be out there dancing. I had that anxiety of like, I got to be out there doing it now. But really, like, you do have more time than you think. And like, even just being able to walk away knowing that I had a high enough GPA if I wanted to walk back in that I could have is like, there's a power in that, and it's a bit of a good play
Yeah,
in my personal opinion. And I think now the world of dance has just expanded into so many directions that kids would be silly to not go get some sort of post-secondary in business, in
yeah,
marketing,
yeah.
in finance. Like
Just
there's
a compliment, right? Like just to
what
support.
I love, because
Yeah,
it's only going to make them stronger in their lane. Uh,
100%. And so
yeah.
you took kinesiology.
Mhm.
Was that something that you would recommend then, to say somebody that's looking at applying to programs right now?
I think it's really valuable because you only get one body, and nobody, like when you hurt it, because it will happen, no one can tell you how your body feels. So if you can identify exactly what it is and where it is and how it is, you're going to be able to help guide yourself
Yeah,
and whoever is assisting you the best way possible, the more knowledge you're equipped with. So, like down the road, years later, like fast forward, I'm living in Las Vegas. We have a Pilates trainer, and I'm taking Pilates. And she literally, I had a labral tear in my hip, and they were trying to deem whether I was a good candidate for surgery. And it ended up that I wasn't, which was so rare. And the surgeon said, what do you do that your hips are actually as balanced as they are for as unbalanced as your work load being choreography is? Right kick, right kick, right kick, you know? Um,
yeah.
and I said, I do Pilates. And he was like, well, that must be it. So I never had to have hip surgery because of Pilates.
Ah,
And I just think like I had that kines background. I knew my body enough, and I stayed in tune and in touch with it in a different way outside of dance, and really in like a fundamental alignment way. And even moving forward after working with Cirque, I decided to get Pilates certified because I just really believe
saw
in
the
it
benefits in it.
and all of the benefits. And
Yeah,
uh, it's rewarding to be able to offer those benefits to other people that are looking for assistance, and just to have that extra layer of knowledge.
for sure. And that element of preventative care, right? Like we talk so much about physio and rehab and all of this
But it's
stuff, and
so
it,
much pre that you can do. Yeah.
There really is, especially when you wanna have a career for a long time. Um, that's really neat. I actually didn't know, that that was sort of how you kinda went from your competitive studio training into the next chapter. I didn't know that background, so that's really cool for me to just hear. So then coming out of SFU, um, I know that you did some work in Vancouver, but you had a unique path. So just if you can kind of share some of the highlights at that in that chapter.
Yeah, so what took me out of SFU, because I was also at the same time I was doing that, I was dance captain for the BC Lions Felines under the direction of Mo Brody, and I was dancing with the Source Dance Company under Joanne Psusich. Uh, you're too Source. What?
Yeah.
If you don't know, people find out. You're too Source. Val Ho, Lisa Ho, Kevin Yee, Kylie Stanton. Gosh, Angie Bell. I mean, the names
Oh,
that
geez.
Misha Lee, the people that I had the pleasure of sharing a
Yeah.
room with and pushing one another with in that year was like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened in all the other years of Source. I know it's still going, but I know that Source Year 2 holds some weight. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was doing that simultaneously because like I said, I wasn't fulfilled with the modern stuff.
Yeah.
And then I heard about an audition for some job in Singapore. And I was like, Singapore, that's cool. And I got sent to another audition at the dance center that was on the same day. So I was, and then of course that one was running late. So then it put me late showing up to this other audition for Singapore. And it was like downstairs in that ballroomy
Yeah.
studio there. Of Harbor. I wasn't Harbor at the time, but yeah. So, anyways, they were like well into the audition when I showed up, and the gentleman who was in charge was quite a character. And made a big production about how dare I show up late and da da da. And I was like, look, I'm really sorry. I'm just going to stand in the back. I'm going to do what I can. I really wanted to be here. I had another audition. Oh, she had another audition. It was like that kind of energy. So nothing new for me. So
Yeah.
I put my head down,
Good for fricking you.
got a little pissed off, did the work, and booked the job.
Yes. Yes.
And
Come
I was
on,
like,
book the job.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, let's go to Singapore, and that was crazy. That was a crazy time. But that is how I left SFU.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I sat with a prof who shall remain nameless because they can't tell you that you don't need to be there. But he basically said, well, the school will be here. And I was like, fair. He's like, and you only are young ones. I was like,
Good. Good
thank
for that individual.
yeah. So I went to Singapore, and rehearsals took place. I'm sure illegally, but rehearsals took place in Hermosa Beach, so SoCal, and we rehearsed at this studio. I don't even think it's there anymore. Hype Studios, in Redondo Beach,
Okay.
and we were there for 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks. There was a good little group of Canadians and a couple of Americans. And then we went overseas, and this was like a cabaret show. It was two really
Ah,
wealthy individuals backed by old money that
right.
opened like this high-end cabaret club. It had like backlit blacklight jellyfish tanks and like
What an experience.
it was beautiful. And Singapore as a country is so cool. Like, I cannot wait to take my son to Singapore. Yeah, Singapore was amazing. We weren't there long enough because apparently you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't know how to manage your money, it goes away fast for these poor men who couldn't
Oh,
afford to keep us employed. But we were on the other side of the world, so we were determined to have a good time. So me and the girls bought tickets to Bali.
oh my gosh, yes, you did.
And that was amazing. But I was there during the tsunami.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, which is wild because that tsunami literally hit everywhere in that pocket
Right.
except Singapore. Um, and there were people that I was partying with on Christmas Eve that were going um, to Thailand and whatever that like never came home that I
Oh my
literally went the day
gosh.
before. Yeah, it just like was like a big slap in the face to how real
Wakey,
life
wakey. Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
quickly things can change.
How just slipping like sand through your fingers, right? It's just like,
Yeah. So that was
oh,
like a pretty humbling experience. And then, going over to Bali and hearing everything and seeing everything that we had seen, and then like getting there and the water not being super clean and all the things because the tsunami had just churned up like everything from the bottom of the ocean and like garbage being washed ashore and all the things. That being said, the people in Bali were wonderful. The place that we stayed was amazing. It was insanely affordable. Like, oh my gosh.
and the food was it,
Del-
yeah,
Everything was outstanding. We had a great time. And then I came back, but I had given away all of my teaching in Vancouver because I was meant to
right.
be in 6 months. I had got out of my apartment lease with my poor cousin that I like really put her through the ringer. We were living downtown together. And I was like, gotta go. I'm going to Singapore. She was like, what?
Gulp. Yeah.
And anyways, yeah. And then I was back and it was like, well, what now? Kind of now what, you know? And then I auditioned for, I got a phone call from Paul Becker, and he said, I'm choreographing this thing with his wife at the time. And they haven't found who they're looking for, and they're looking to hold a few more auditions. Like, would you come audition? Yeah, for sure. And it was for like a dancing zombie. Yeah, kind of strange, but it was like a dead person who would get injected with this stuff that would kind of pseudo bring them back to life.
Right, 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 right. Very abstract.
They would dance.
Um, so then can I interrupt and ask, because this isn't an easy mindset to be in. I think we can so often forget about the mental blocks that we build up as dancers, as artists, that as entrepreneurs really as well. Oh, look at that sweat pit.
Okay.
Um, um, we can get into these ruts going, oh my God, what's the next thing? Oh my, like,
Oh, yeah.
what am I going to book next? What's coming? Do I forego everything and go back to school or whatever it is? Like, what do you vividly remember those feelings, and did you have them?
I do because I mean I'm known for I'm known for shooting from the hip. Like me or hate me for it. I'll lay all my cards out on the
Yeah.
table. So when I got home, all of my things were in one of the rooms in my parents' home and packed up in boxes and just sitting there. And I was like, shit, now what?
Yeah.
Right? And I've given all my work away. I had 4 studios I was teaching at. Nobody's going to give me my work back. The studios were like, well, welcome back. No one cared. No one cared. And then my parents separated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was sitting in a home that already had my things packed up, and now half of the things were taken out of it. And so I unpacked and I filled the holes, tried to fill the holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that and was also still doing the like, what is my life? What is this? Whatever, right? And that was when Paul called for this audition. He was like, "It's a TV show," and I had not done any film and television ever. This was in 2003, maybe 4, 3, 4. Um, And I was like, okay, yeah, so I'll audition. So I
Sign me up.
auditioned, and the director bit, and he was like, her, we want her.
Heck
Right?
yeah.
Okay, cool, right on. Oh, by the way, you're naked. Uh, just keep those curveballs coming, life.
Right.
I was like, I'm
Just a
sorry, what?
human punching bag for you to take a whack at.
You'll have a dress on, but the dress will be see-through. But you'll have underwear on. Well, you'll have a thong on because they got to spray you because you got to look dead. So we got to do the veins, and you'll be like kind of blue, white, and like all the things. So, I said to Paul, I promised my family that I would never, ever, with all the training that I have, perform nude.
Yeah.
And he was like, I get that, but this is not that. I was like, I get that as well. That's why I want to have this
Yeah.
conversation with you. Like, you know, am I making a mistake if I walk away? And he was
Right,
like,
right, 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 right.
yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
And
cool.
so you did the job.
So I did the job.
Yeah.
I had my own stunt double. That was cool.
Oh.
The job was wild. I had like white contacts. I was legally blind. I had an assistant on set that took me around once the contacts were in because I couldn't see anything. The stage was raked and then surrounded with barbed wire, and I'm naked and blind, like all of the things. Um,
I
and I'm
don't even what?
like, what is happening, right? And then the dancer, there was another woman who was more of an actor than a dancer who got hired as well to play like another person who did kind of same different, except I
Yeah.
was the number one's sister scripted, and she was
Okay.
another body, right? So she did hers first and was not giving the director what he wanted. And the director was Toby Hooper, who created the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Whoa.
So, like a notable name and a guy who knew what he was looking for. And she wasn't delivering it, which was
And she wasn't the one.
unfortunate because I was like, well, now I'm next. Here we go. Everyone,
Okay.
wish me luck. I'm blind. The stage
I'm
is
Melena and I
amazing.
thrive in shitty situations.
Melina and I thrive in shitty situations. And that's what happened. And I became known as the one take wonder.
Hey. Pew, 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 pew.
It's cool.
No,
It was
that's sweet.
cool. I felt terrible for that other girl.
Yeah, well,
I
I
understood the
mean,
assignment.
you seize opportunities when they present themselves.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and then
Um,
from there I worked with Paul on a plethora of other things as like I mean back then we weren't even like using the term assistant or like anything, right? I guess I mentored under him, but
yeah,
like even I don't even know that he knew he was mentoring
yeah,
any, you know what I mean? Like we were still young. We were
yeah,
two young kids. And yeah, and then this is crazy. I went back down to LA. So I made all this movie money. I
yeah,
had I had money and I was like I want to go to America and train. I've
yeah,
never been to LA. I've never really been to New York. I want to do the things. So I went down with Natasha Gorey
yeah.
and we drove my car down and my girlfriend Amanda who I used to dance with she came with us and we had this crazy adventure on our drive down to LA. We ended up with flat tires. We all got matching tattoos. Like we got rescued by a girl named Angel Powers. You can't make this shit up. um,
Oh
but
my God, did somebody journal? Was anyone doing a script right?
I
Like,
mean, yeah, we could definitely make a short out of it for sure. And at that time, Shane Sparks was like a name, and I was dialed in with him because I had been back and forth a few
right.
times before we did this drive. So I had established relationships. I performed in Carnival with Shane, and he was like, we were telling him the story, and he was like, those are the kind of things where like you go back to the town and they're like, there's never been any Angel Powers here. Um, but yeah, so did the back and forth down to LA thing, and then I booked a job in LA that took me to New York, and
Oh,
because we had gone down, I think for Hip Hop International, we were repping Canada,
okay, cool.
and that was when they were holding it in Manhattan Beach.
Mm,
And everyone drove, I think, back up, and I stayed down, and I went to this audition, and I booked this job, and it was for this kid show called Hip Hop Harry, and
fucker.
Hip Hop Harry actually was Barney, which is cool. So I worked with him. And it was cool because it was putting a positive spin on hip hop culture and teaching like value and educational life lessons through hip hop culture.
Hip hop. That's cool. I
I
really like that.
loved it. I was all about it. I was like, yes, I want to do this show. And they were like, okay, cool. Well, we're going to go to New York. You're going to be performing at the State Fair. And I was like, oh my God, yes, amazing. This is so cool. And while I was in New York, and I was in like upstate New York, like Syracuse. So
Whoa.
if you don't know where that is, it's because why would you? I was there.
It's
New
the
York
largest
there.
state fair around.
I mean, it is. It's a big one, but like Syracuse, the city or whatever, I'm like, I don't know. I'd never heard of it before. I'm also Canadian. So anyhow, while I was there performing, I got a phone call from Paul, and he said, "Are you back from LA? Are you in Vancouver? I'm in New York, and there's a job I'm working on." and they're looking for somebody, and I feel like you could be who they're looking for. And I was like, okay, do tell. And he's like, well, it's this reggaeton tour, and they're looking for this character who's like fiery, but can also be feminine and a bit of a warrior. And he's like, I just feel like if you could get to Manhattan for these auditions. And I was like, I'm in New York. He was like,
I'm actually 5 blocks away. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was.
yeah.
It was a 5 hour bus ride sitting next to the toilet in the back of the bus, but I was. So I let go of my plane ticket, my guaranteed plane ticket back to LA, where my things were.
Right.
And I got on a bus, bought myself a ticket on the bus, and went to Manhattan. And Paul met me. And he was like, yeah, basically there's just going to be this big audition. You got to learn this choreography. Maria Torres and myself are the choreographers, and Maria Torres is a freaking legend. And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so cool. I'm so out of my league. What is reggaeton?
Right.
But it was cool. They were looking to do something that no one had done. There were like capoeiraists, there were
Oh
Latin
my God.
dancers, there were hip hop dancers, there were
Whoa.
people like myself who had mixed bag of skills.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so 2 days of auditioning in Manhattan, and I booked the tour. It was a US national tour. And I got to
That's
perform at Madison
huge.
Square Garden. I got to perform at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, which is a massive arena. Yeah, I
Oh,
got to perform at so many amazing arenas. Unfortunately, they also couldn't manage their money well. So I had to walk away from the tour before it actually ended because there were some shady things happening involving money. And I was not playing the game. So I bowed out, and that didn't make anyone very happy, but
mm.
it wasn't it wasn't right. They were
You gotta
not
do
right.
what's right.
Yeah, they were trying to take advantage of the dancers. There was like
Mhm.
we found out the show that we were meant to do in Puerto Rico was going to be on pay-per-view, but we didn't have a contract for being on pay-per-view. And I was like, "Oh, cha-ching, we need
Oh,
a
yeah, hang on.
yeah." And production was trying to tell us, no, 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 it's not going to be on pay per view. It's not going to be on pay per view. But one of the dancers who was Puerto Rican, her parents lived in Puerto Rico, and they're like, they're advertising it on TV.
Ah,
And so we all band together, and I was like, okay, I was chilling in Philly at the time, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not, we're not going anywhere. We're waiting for our contract. And
right.
all it took, unfortunately, was production to call each dancer individually and promise them all that they would pay them. Promise them, not even give them anything. How silly. How silly. So I made them promise me and give me a plane ticket that went from Philadelphia to LA, where my things were, and then from
Mm-hmm.
LA to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they
So
said,
a learning lesson there. I mean, hard one, but like still, we see it. We still see it in
we still
today's
see it.
world
We
as
still see
well. So, you have to do what's right for you, but frick, it does. It's individuals like yourself doing it in moments like that it sends a message. And I mean, like I doesn't sound like everyone banded together and did exactly what you did, which is what you can only hope, so that these larger corporations can get a smack in the face. But it's not always the case. But I mean, you get respect, right? And that's
Definitely. And it was wild because so they basically I lied to them. I told them I was going to go to Puerto Rico, and I had them buy me a ticket that said Puerto Rico to Vancouver direct, and I changed that ticket on the day to go Puerto Rico, LA, Vancouver, and I left every single one of those people sitting on the bus
yeah,
in Puerto Rico to think about why they were there while they waited for me.
yeah,
I wasn't coming,
yeah.
and nobody liked that. But
Hmm.
it was what it was, and word traveled like wildfire because when I ran into Antonio Hundel in the parking lot at the Millennium at the Dome, and he was like, "Wait, you're that dancer that just up and left that tour and good for you and high five and screw them." And I was like, "Oh wow."
Yeah,
So, but yeah, it does take,
it takes balls. It takes balls. Um, okay, so then from from there, at what age, uh, sort of phase in your life is this stuff happening?
I was 24.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like the the peak, right?
Mhm.
Of when, I mean, everyone pursues it differently, but building momentum. And I know that at Cirque came soon after.
So yeah, so I was now in Vancouver.
Yeah.
My immigration lawyer in America was like, "You left the tour. I can't file your paperwork." And I was like, "It wasn't the right fit. I couldn't do it. Sorry." Um, and then lo and behold, someone that I had been friends with for a long time approached me about opening up a drop-in dance center in Vancouver called Drive Dance Center. We opened on Commercial Drive and Second, and the idea was because we had been listening to our peers speak about how the city needed more options and like different classes and different people teaching. And so we were like, well, let's be those people. Let's like offer up the space and let's do it in a different part of the city. It's non-competition. It's just, to elevate our community. And we were met with a lot of resistance, but I can say 13 years later now, being back in Vancouver and seeing all the people who had the guts to open their own studios and do their things, I don't know whether it would have happened or not before Drive Dance Center, but I'm proud of all of those people
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because it's not easy.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's a challenge to do even when you have the support. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we opened Drive Dance Center and we had a really great opening. I had Marty Kudelka and Eddie Morales come in and teach, and the best two dancers in the room got tickets to Justin, to the Justified tour. And it was such a vibe. It was such a good time. And then Cirque called. And
Just when you think the dust is settling.
they said, "Hey, do you remember when you auditioned for us? We have a spot for you at the Beatles Love in Las Vegas."
Did your heart freaking sink? Like,
Yeah.
whoa, world explosion, right? Like,
Why does this keep happening?
yeah, yeah. And that's the case. That is the freaking case. So, so then was it a complete uproot and
Yeah.
drop everything and go?
Yeah, that was the drive down to LA that resulted in a car accident, tattoos, and angel powers. And then because I had been doing like administrative, running a business stuff, and
Yeah,
everyone was like, "Why aren't you teaching a
yeah,
class?" I was like, "Because I have a business to run."
yeah,
Like, right? So I went down to LA a month and a half prior to my time beginning with CERT just to train and just
yeah,
like sharpen all my tools again and
yeah.
be in that energy that I needed. And yeah, and then I went to Montreal. I learned the show. Worked at IHQ. It was a really cool experience. And then from there went to Vegas and got integrated into the Beatles Love, and that was in end of 2007, beginning of 2008.
So freaking cool.
And I was there for 4 years. I got to perform with Paul McCartney for the Grammys at Music Cares when he was honored. And his sound check, can I just say, like, this guy, I mean, we all know he's Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, but like, he said, no sound check, cast, gather around, have a seat on the stage. He played us like 3 or 5 songs, just him and his guitar.
A
Private
freaking legend. Quality human beings that you want to be
lesson. He's
in the spotlight. I love hearing that because it's true. It's like when somebody is of quality like that and they get to be in the spotlight, you're just like, that's why you deserve it. And I love seeing you there. And it's
yeah.
so great to hear that stuff. I love that.
Just an outstanding human being. And he always was. Like anytime we would have a big milestone for the show, like him and Ringo would send, like you could smell uh what were they? Lilies? Yeah. You could smell lilies from down the hall in the back, like even before you had gotten close to the stage doors to enter backstage, you could smell lilies. And you'd come down the hall and there was like a bouquet of like 3 dozen lilies just like doing their thing, making the whole building.
The extra things, right? Like we don't realize, but they go so far in people's lives. And somebody that you idolize or look up to that doesn't need to, they're not required to, but takes the extra time to do that stuff. Oof, that is so cool.
all of that made us all feel so special, and it was really cool. Like Sir George Martin, the fifth Beatle, like when we were in Montreal, him and his son Giles came to meet each one of us individually and get to know us all and make sure that we were a right fit for the show. Um, the Cirque now is not the Cirque that was. So that was a really special time to
That's
work.
cool that
That
you had the experience to be there and take that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I got to meet Yoko Ono and like Olivia Harrison, and their kids,
yeah.
Sean Lennon, and like, yeah, I mean, just such a cool experience, and to bond with so many hungry, talented creatives from all around the world, was such a blessing, and it's really cool to still be able to cross paths with them and run into them still.
Because it's a small world,
It's
right?
a small world,
And the network that builds, the relationships that you create, I mean, they last a lifetime.
100%.
Um, and I want to ask a little bit about getting into the current work that you're doing, and
Mhm.
um, you're a mom, a wife, you have a family, you have a house, like the the balance of it all, right? And being able to fill in those pieces.
There's a quote that I love that says that extremes are easy, strive for balance, because that's what's difficult. And that couldn't be more accurate.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Um,
so right. Yeah,
it's so hard to balance it all, but somehow you figure it out. And like, look, some days are better than others, some weeks are better than others, some months or years are better than others. I think like 2021 to 2000, really to the beginning of 2024, were probably the hardest years of my life. So, and I'm still here. I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So,
girl. Yeah, you
um,
are. Yeah, you are.
yeah, so I think it's important to have balance in your life, and it's healthy, and it keeps you grounded, and it gives you perspective, and hopefully it keeps you operating as a human in this machine that is the entertainment industry, because in a business where no one cares, there are people that care, and those people are the ones that make the difference, and like those are the people that everyone should want to be.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, I remember my first audition for Kenny Ortega. Like, he bought us all lunch after, and I was like, that's how I'm going to be. And he was so kind to everybody, and he just brought the absolute best out of people, that it was like a no-brainer. How come there's not more people like him? And then you're like, oh, because it's Kenny. That's why. Like, he's one in a million,
One
right?
in a million. Yeah.
But in saying that, people could still operate like that. You don't need to be Kenny Ortega to be a nice person.
Yes. Yep. 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 You're so right. And it does. It takes it takes so much extra from somebody in a world where it's not the norm, right? And so for somebody to have that strength, the will, the just the energy to take go the extra mile, or say hello to people working backstage, or just whatever it is, like those little things um, are profound, like the impacts that they have. You might not see it the moment that you do the act, but maybe in 6 months or even 2 years from now, somebody remembers that and pulls you in for something that you didn't foresee at all.
100%. I preach that to any, younger generation that I have an opportunity to be in the room with, that like everyone has value. Every single person in the room brings value, even the person taking the drink order. They
Yeah,
could have been a performer and be, rehabbing an injury. You don't know. But
100%.
most people don't fall into anything in the realm of entertainment if they weren't at one time doing it. It just doesn't happen.
It's true. You're so right. You're so right. And it's not a lesson that we learn once and can forget about. It's something that need to constantly remind ourselves of, no matter what stage you are, no matter how many credits you have, no matter what it is, no
Yeah.
matter if you're young or old, it's a reminder that should just be at the forefront of everyone's brains every day. Every day we clock in for our job or step out into the world, whatever it may be. Just find the energy in yourself, because you don't know what it has in terms of making somebody's day.
Yeah.
That's simple as that.
The difference, right? Like they always used to say to us when we did love, like this is their hour and a half to be transported somewhere else, blah blah blah, and you hear it and you're like, oh woo woo woo. But like no, it's true, and you
Yeah,
don't know. And even for the performers, sometimes it's your hour and a half to be transported
true.
somewhere else and live your life, and it's just as fulfilling in a different way, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and yeah, like everybody plays a valuable role. Everybody has a story and a history. I mean, I worked with so many legends that became like wardrobe and like quick
yeah,
change people that like worked in our theater at Love before it was when it was Siegfried and Roy, and could tell me about the Tigers and tell me about this. Like when I joined the Michael Jackson Immortal World Tour, what a blessing to work with Michael's band, to be in the room and tour with Michael's band and have them say crazy things that blew my mind, like, God, Mike would have loved you. And you're like, holy shit, what?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Man, that's your background and your ability to take on feats that don't actually make sense. Like sometimes it doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean?
I sure do.
And that's what makes sense, right? And so um it's a interesting world to navigate, this industry that we're in. It takes guts, it
Hmm.
takes self-confidence, it also takes a lot of kindness, because you never know who you're going to meet. And well, as we just said, kind of moving into this next few years, or even couple months before we started recording, we were chatting about the work ahead and what that might look like for you.
Yeah.
um where do you see yourself sort of going in these next couple years? Or do you set goals? Do you kind of just keep it open ended? Like, what does it look like?
I do a bit of both. I set goals, but I also am like a firm believer in that, like, what's meant for you won't pass you by and it will find you no matter what. Um, so yeah, I mean, just to touch on what we were saying about like how you were saying, oh, that people might remember that what you did from years ago or whatever. That was kind of one of my first steps that transitioned me into choreography once I settled in LA after getting off the Michael Jackson tour. Was a lighting tech at the Beatles Love recommended me to his business partner. They had started a production company and they were doing shows for Elvira for Knott's Berry Farm. And he just remembered how kind I was and how diverse my skill set was, and wanted to bring me on board to choreograph for the shows. Um, and so I did a few shows for Elvira. I did a few other shows for the park, like a circus, a steampunk circus show. Um, and Paul brought me on to do some stuff for Descendants 2 on Dancing with the Stars under Kenny's direction. And yeah, and then things just kind of rolled from there. And then yeah, now I mean I'm happy wearing the choreography hat.
Yeah,
I feel very settled as a performer and very satisfied, and I don't have a desire. Like, what's crazy, when I landed in LA, and I'll be super transparent because like I don't know why someone wouldn't be. Like I landed in LA and I was like, I still got the juice in me. I'm going to dance. I'm going to do the things I want to dance for this artist and that artist and this artist. And I would make it to the end of all of these auditions. And I would find out from my friends that were on the other side that, like, oh, you weren't white enough. Oh, you didn't look Latin enough. Oh, they actually needed black girls.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
none of it had to do with anything that I could control. And at the end of the day, like, that doesn't pay my bills.
No.
And whether you want to or not, like, it's exhausting. It's emotional. That's
Oh
emotionally
yeah.
exhausting. And you put yourself out there and you do it for free and you do all of this stuff. And I think there's like a time too where you just like go like, is this is what I want? you know, and
What do I value myself as? Like what and I think at there is a certain point where you look at that sort of factual statement that somebody told you and you look at it and go, right, onwards and upwards, I'm going to move on to the next one. But then
correct.
there you do hit a time where you're like, F it. Like I
So I was like,
yeah,
F, why are people wasting my time? And
yeah,
why am I letting people waste my
yeah,
time when I am in control of my time?
yeah,
And if I have the ability and I'm being offered choreography contracts, why am I out here trying to
yeah.
dance behind, J Lo
Yeah.
or
And you kind of you shut those blinders off because I think sometimes we're talking about setting goals and picturing ourselves on these stages or getting these credits. We do have this um risk of putting blinders on to be so dead set on
that you
getting
miss?
in the rooms with the right ones or booking the certain job, and if you don't book it then you're going to keep going back to that same one, whatever it is, and then meanwhile you've just like completely closed yourself off to other opportunities. And so there is, you know,
And and you've closed yourself off to other like life opportunities, right? Like we were talking about balance. Like I see so many people who are so hungry and they're chasing something, and I'm like, y'all don't even know what you're chasing. What are you chasing? Are you chasing fame? Are you chasing just like the credit to say that you have the credit? And like, is that going to fill your cup enough if it doesn't even pay?
yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like they're
Oh
just
yeah,
as
because you get into these mindsets or these ruts of you're doing a job that you at once wanted, but meanwhile in the middle of it you're already thinking about the next job or the risk of not getting a job. So then it's like it can be a very sort of windy rabbit hole that you can spiral into, and so you have to be able to pick yourself up, pull yourself out of that, and look at life or at your life from a little bit more of a macro perspective.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I always knew like a family is important to me. That is wealth. That is abundance. That being able to provide opportunities for other people is something that I value, which is why moving into choreography, like to be able to give people opportunities that were better than the ones that I had available to me, to not waste people's time.
Yeah,
all of those,
efficiency, yeah.
all of those things I pride myself on. And yeah, I just think like the aspect of like life balance is so important because you can chase all these things and people will do some crazy things to get to where they are. I've seen it, I see it, I continue to see it. Even
Yeah,
if I don't say anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but then I look at what those people have on the back end and I'm like, you're missing the mark here. You're all by yourself. You don't have anybody to share any of your joy with, any of your successes, nobody to support you when you're down. And this industry can eat you alive if you don't have that.
Chew
Uh,
you up and spit you out. It
yeah,
really can. Yep,
and those are the things that to me define somebody who's successful.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's
that's
funny you say that because I didn't lean on any of my notes really because we've had such a rich, colorful conversation. I did write though, like, what was your success or what did you think was success when you were younger versus what does that look like and has it changed now? And I think that you kind of just answered that. Like it's family, it's feelings and experiences and enriching the lives of others, generations to come, and changing the things that you saw when you were young or in the industry and making it for the better. So
yeah.
it's selfishly I take these episodes and I bring on the guests that I actually look up to, and use as motivation and pull from, and individuals that I truly do think are making such a positive impact on this industry, and sharing what you have to say, in an audio format is just sort of, so valuable. And I do hope that people really take time to listen to your comments, your advice, and your reflections because there's so much that people can learn. Um, earlier on that you don't need to learn too late. Like you can learn it earlier on. You really can.
Yeah. Like, for I think for women too, like it's really hard when you get into that stage of your life where everyone starts having kids and doing all that kind of stuff and like um people don't talk about it in our industry and I want to talk about it real
Yeah.
quick. We can
Yeah.
because
Please.
the amount of
Please.
kind of pigeonholing that I felt from our industry once since I had my son is is disgusting, actually. The amount of people that have leaned into how's mom life with that
Right.
condescending tone instead of
Right.
like, how are you? How's life? How's your family? How, anything going on in your career? What, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like immediately it's just
with me. Don't
mom.
put me in a box and shut me down and say that I'm not doing things because don't worry, you might not know about them and that's okay too, but I'm
Yeah.
doing
Yeah. Yeah. And so did you get smacked with that not knowing that that would come, or
yeah,
did you? Yeah.
yeah. For sure. I just saw a guy, I thought like, oh, I'm gonna be a mom and I'm gonna do the things and what like I remember my son being like 7 days old and I'm holding him online in like a UBCP actor meeting because I'm one of the co-chairs on the committee.
Yeah.
And whereas there's no excuse, like I'm here, he's
Yeah.
sleeping, I can hold him and I'm doing the things and
I've
whatever.
got 2 feet in a heartbeat. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so and like this is it. This is what part of my life looks like now, but
Good
not
for you.
all of it. And that's there's a beauty and there's a power and a strength to that. And I just like encourage women who are like thinking that they want to have families or be moms to like do it. But don't wait until it's too late and
Yeah.
then go, oh, I wish I would have done that. And now you can't dance anymore and you don't have a partner and you don't have a
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Not that that's the be all and end all for everybody, but if you're somebody that is something that you
Are thinking about and
value, then like don't be afraid of it. Like it will work out, and there are other moms out there doing
yeah.
it. There's
Yes.
lots and lots of them, and like some of them are badass directors, and like there's so much inspiration out there. But we don't get spoken about. Like the working moms don't get spoken about enough, and there's like this weird, you know, balance that you have to find being like
Right.
a working mom, somebody who's a go-getter, but also somebody who isn't.
Because we're so easy to smack tags on things and and roles and titles and all of these things. But
Mhm.
it really at the end of the day, like the fact that a female can give birth and be the mom and that powerful figure in somebody's life, but and still have this freaking insane career and continue to build that momentum that you're building is outstanding. Outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
I want my son to look at me and feel proud and not I'm conscious of the time that I give him and the time that I need for my jobs and the things that I have going on as well, and I do my best to balance it all.
yeah,
But it's important to me that he sees that you can do whatever you want, you know,
yeah.
and
There's
that
no one way to do
yeah,
life.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's no one way, and like a little bit of support goes a long way. And yeah,
yeah,
women are badass.
yeah. They are. I love that. I love that. And in fact, I love that that is sort of how this conversation migrated itself to. Because being a female myself and being somebody that values family and looks at life, tries to plan a little bit but not over controlling, like I appreciate it because I know that a future is for myself at least is marriage and kids hopefully as well. So thank you for vocalizing and opening up about that. I appreciate that and I know so many other people will.
For sure. Yeah, that's the hope, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just wrapping up here, I kind of leave the last couple minutes of episodes to just kind of bring some lighthearted topics. It's a fire round of questions if you're
Yes, ma'am.
ready. Um, I try not to go shiny object and sidebar and stay with them. So there's only a few, but when you're ready, I am.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Right. So if you had one preferred method of travel, would it be boat or flight?
Ooh, flight.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Stay in or go out?
Go out.
I feel like this goes with the winter, summer, but ocean or mountains?
Oh, yeah, ocean.
Yeah. Um, book or movie?
Movie.
Okay. And thriller or comedy?
Comedy.
Okay. And the last couple, if you had one more meal on Earth, kind of like death row meal, what would it be?
Ooh. Uh, Probably a steak of some sort. Definitely a bomb dessert, like something just mind-blowing for dessert.
And then last one might make you think a little bit. If you could gift the world with one personality trait, what would it be?
Oh, gift the world with one personality trait,
Everyone had it
kindness.
across the board.
Kindness. We all have it. We just don't all use it all the time. Kindness.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love you. And I have so much respect for everything that you are doing and have done. Please keep being that figure and role model in so many people's lives.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to sit down with you.
Of course, take care of yourself and we'll be in touch, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Cheers.
Say hi to your little one for me. And you're just your entire family. I miss you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Big hugs to you guys.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Take
Talk to
care. That's it. That's all. Another amazing episode on Briggs and Co. where we are leaving average for Joe. Stay tuned. Next week we'll have another exciting guest coming on the podcast. Please comment, share with me any feedback, any advice, any guests that you want me to invite on. I am all ears and I am open. So please connect with me. That's the only way I can continue to grow this show. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for those of you that share the episodes, that send me love and encouragement. It always means the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. You squeeze your loved ones extra tight and you're a little kinder to those in your world. All right, everyone, take care. See you next time.